we are here in the Man Cave Experience, as we call it. And this is a place that Cedric and I just kind of envisioned, and we're in it, and we're in it to win it, and we never know what things might come up. We do have an amazing return guest that I'm going to introduce here in a second that is gracing our channel here again, and just so excited about that. So I'm going to do a quick check-in for myself. Just kind of feeling really connected with, again, just the space. I know I've mentioned that pretty much on every show, but just loving the fact that we are just engaging in a conversation as men, having, the time and space to really share the authentic, vulnerable, parts of us that we don't oftentimes connect to as men. And we can, kind of get wrapped up in the ego parts of who we are and not really focus on, those internal energies and just our willingness to feel whole, not just all the things outside of us, but the things that are inside of us. So I'm just checking in, feeling, very aligned with that right now. Just feeling fantastic that my buddy Ced's here to do a quick intro for himself. I'm going to turn it over to him. And then again, we've got the amazing Brian Leggett, who's here again with us today. And we're going to dive into just a very cool conversation after the introductions, and hope you'll enjoy that. So Ced, give me what's going on. Tell me what's going on out there in Texas.
In the good old South, huh? Man, it's all good in my neck of the woods, man. Really, man, look, man, I got a hat on because I haven't shaved my head, growing my beard out, haven't been to the barber. But, man, it's like a part of it, though, is like vanity and getting over all of that, because I can slide into that. I got to look good and presentable and all of that stuff, and just kind of tapping into that, man, and into that not giving a damn what the world thinks, so I can just focus more on me and the internal. So, and all of that is in alignment, still ebbs and flows, good days, bad days. But overall, man, I'm in a great space right now, man. Just positivity, man.
Nice.
Positive world right now.
So Brian, remind the audience a little bit about yourself, and then I'll introduce the topic, and we'll dive on in. So to kind of give us a little what's going on in Arizona in your world.
A whole lot. Like I said, I got a lot of positivity going on right now. About me, I shared in part one my story with cancer and life after cancer, how I became a health coach, and now just loving the journey, just growing and loving as I go. I don't know what to say except for just putting out that positive vibe out there and having the universe bring that back. And it's feeling really good, and it's working really well, and I'm loving it right now. Things are great.
Which, I think the theme of what we kind of all checked in with is just this whole idea of healthy thoughts, healthy habits, and just how we can live a healthy life through understanding and connecting to these areas of our life that we don't understand sometimes, the connection between our thoughts and our emotions that drive our experiences. And if we can really kind of slow down and experience our thoughts in a different way, knowing that they're just thoughts. I mean, we all have our spirituality, parts of who we are, us men, and we've all experienced meditation and how our thoughts can sometimes feel overwhelming, or we misinterpret them, or we put value on thoughts that aren't necessarily true, or they're not even our thoughts, and how that drives the decisions and behaviors that we and our experiences in our life. So as men, as we sit here today, this topic that we're throwing out there, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues that we can speak about, and that's kind of the open forum that we're putting out there today, is just knowing that how just the simplicity of our thoughts and the goal or the emphasis on thoughts should not be, I don't want to have thoughts, right? No thoughts, you're probably not alive. So thoughts are important. We have to really understand what thoughts we want to attach ourselves to, or are we willing to let go of certain thoughts that don't serve us well, and create our own new thoughts that are going to then give us the emotions that we want to feel. We don't feel like, especially as men, that we have to push down these feelings and not show all the parts of who we are, worrying about how somebody else might react to it, or, you know, we're categorized as being a pussy, or, you know, lesser than, because, you know, we're willing to actually tap into all those parts of ourselves, and those behaviors then create what we experience in life. We can step into all the things that we do, whether it's, you know, going on vacation, or, you know, being in a relationship, or having a son, or just being a friend to somebody else. Those experiences are so much more real when we can really understand how that process works of our thoughts, our behaviors, and our feelings, and just those experiences that come out of that. So I'd love to hear from you, Brian, as far as just kind of this whole topic. I know, you know, you're very much connected with, you know, just this energy that you're feeling within your body, and just this, you spoke before we got on here about this 17-second process that individuals can go through to really connect to that and understand the energies that are kind of available to you through that process. So I'd love for you to kind of bring in, you know, your experience and what you're doing now to really enhance this practice.
All right. Okay. So I want to rewind for a second and go back to we were talking about when you were sharing about thoughts and behaviors. So everything that we do starts with the thought. That everything we do has to start. Our next behavior usually starts with our last thought. Sometimes that thought and that next behavior are maybe not the right choice in that time. So in order to, I guess, make that behavior more acceptable to yourself, maybe to others, whatever is important to you, you can always, you cannot always control your first thought, but you can always control your second thought. You have the ability in every thought to change that first thought to your second thought, and then make that second thought your behavior. So in a nutshell, not always acting on your first thought, but just saying, is this first thought in alignment with myself or my beliefs? And if it's not, changing that first thought into a second thought that is more in alignment with your beliefs and your true self, and then acting behavior on that.
Right.
So that was kind of my share on thoughts, as well as my 17-second appreciation. So I've been really aligned with my own source energy. And by creating source energy, I mean by having energy, positive energy come to me from the universe. You know, how I do that is by putting out what I intend for myself during the course of the day, at night, before I go to sleep at night. You know, I'll write in my journal, because I journal every night about gratitude. Is just my intention to sleep well tonight, wake up rested, and I intend to have a great day tomorrow. And setting that intention, that positive vibe out to the universe, actually, I get that positive vibe and those good intentions served back to me the next day. And it has changed my world. As far as the 17 seconds go, so sometimes when I'm feeling like I may be slipping off track, or maybe just not putting out, you know, maybe resisting a little bit of that source energy for whatever reason, maybe rejecting source energy, and it's subconsciously, when I notice it consciously and bring it back, I'll give myself a 17-second appreciation. So what I mean by that is finding something in your life that you appreciate and holding that thought in your head for 17 seconds. And as long as you can hold that thought for 17 seconds, more appreciations will come to you. And when those appreciations start coming to you more and more, then you're setting out those positive vibrations out to the universe. And in turn, the universe will send source energy back to you.
So I want to ask you something.
Yeah. No, go for it.
I was going to say, I know Cedric's got something to say here, but I just want to, just before I forget the thought,
yeah.
I just love the fact that, and I know, and I'm going to put Brian on the spot here for a second, because I know,
Go for it.
because I've spoke to Brian and been with him, that there's times where he gets in his head, he gets, stuck on a thought that interrupts that. And I think for you, the listener, we're not putting this out there to say that we've got it figured out. This is work in progress. And I think that's what Brian and Cedric and I are always cognizant of, is it's the journey. It's our willingness when these things come up, is just to take that step back and say, okay, just that curiosity of, okay, there's that thought. It's like, I don't have to react to that. And the more space you can create around that, then the behavior can change, because you create that opportunity to just kind of pause in your life before you push the default reaction button on how you've historically or been taught to react. And you can shift your life. You can shift the habits. You can shift your behaviors, understanding that it takes practice, and that kindness that you need to bring into this. Do not judge and give up on what it takes to create something new in your life. So I didn't mean to butt in on you, Cedric, because I know you've got lots to share here, but I guess sometimes
nah, you good, man.
Yeah, what's up?
my kind of creeps up on me, and then I've got this thought, it's like, then it's lost. So anyway.
Yeah, and I'm not perfect, and I'm still growing. So yeah, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself, making a 1% improvement every day. As far as when things do come up for me, what works well for me is an actual physical movement. Like I will just like brush like a negative thought off my shoulder, take a deep breath, and imagine my exhale being like a dark, ugly color and just blowing it out of me. And then just inhaling a more positive colored breath, whatever that color is to you. That's one of my tools.
Love that.
So you kind of fast forwarded over to the answer.
Okay.
Or hit it around what I was going to ask. Because I was like, man, I want to play devil's advocate-ish a little bit, for the dudes that's out there that tune in, or ladies, and they like, yo, B, I hear what you're saying, positive intentions. Man, I feel like I'm doing that, man. I set my intention in the morning when the house is quiet, nobody's there, man. I'm sitting there in my mind. My intent is to go out, love everybody, or just treat everybody nice. And I got all that, B. But, man, when I pull up to the job and I see Johnny, who pissed me off, and it all goes to hell, how can I control that second thought? Like, so what would you, and I want to play that role of that person. Like, what would you tell me?
Would I
or
tell
that
you?
person that's listening, hearing it,
If it is that thing at your job, there's got to be something at that job that you're grateful for. Maybe it's grateful that you even have a job. But I think it starts with gratitude. We all have something that we're grateful for. Maybe you have a nice house that you stay at. You have nice clothes. Whatever that job is providing for you, there is gratitude in that. There's some value in that job that you don't like, or there's that one person that maybe has that negative attitude you come across. But you kind of just have to, like I said, kind of brush that off your shoulders. Like I said, I do a gratification before bed, and in the morning I wake up and do a 15-minute gratification meditation, set my intentions for the day, set my goals for the day, and I stay as focused as I can. And if I do notice that I do start drifting in the wrong way, I'll take a deep breath, don't get too wound up, and just become aware of your breathing and just exhaling all of what maybe you're holding on to some tension or some negativity, and just blowing out any of that tension or negativity, and just accepting for people who they are. You don't know what maybe Johnny's going through. We don't know what anybody else is going through. So I wouldn't put judgment on Johnny. Johnny is Johnny. And I think actually we just got to share compassion for Johnny. I pulled that off your shirt, Ron, but I'm loving it though. And it is true. It's true, man. Johnny might be going through some things.
Yeah, I think you've got to be willing to also just call yourself out for your reaction to somebody else. Because I think, I agree. I think we have to have that compassion for others. But at what point do we have to change our own, kind of the inner energy that's causing this discomfort in our reaction, that we have the ability to identify? It's like, what is it about me that's causing me to react this way, and own that? And then that's where the work is, right? Because, we can't change how somebody else reacts to us.
Yep.
And how many times do we try to do that, right? We want to control the situation, especially as men. We want to fix the outcome so it comes out the way we want it to. But we don't have to. All we have to do is control, and I love what you're saying, Brian. It's like, that first thought, or that first, that instinct, or that first message that comes out of our mouth. Sometimes we can't control that, but when somebody else reacts to it, then we have that opportunity to decide, are we going to come from a place of love, or are we going to come from a place of fear? Anger is just a mask for what that fear is. So if we understand that we're not getting angry, we're fearful of something that's in that situation, and we can tap into that and really sit in that, then I think we're able to be more compassionate. We're able to identify what we can do differently and not worry so much about the other person, because it's not about them. It's about us, really. It's that mirror that we hold up and understand, that's what we want them to do for us versus what we need to do for us.
Yeah. And the reason I ask, man, because I get asked that question a lot, dude. But in a different way, people usually come up and like, man, how can you be happy all day? Like, how can you be positive? And it's different groups, I hear some people like, man, it's no way, he a fraud and all of this stuff. And I get asked that a lot, and it's usually about the workplace or whatever. And I'm like, well, really, you can't get mad at such and such. I said, a lot of times we say do unto others as we had them do unto us, the golden rule. And I'm like, just do as you would have done to you. So how would you feel if, and I play the scenario out because it's usually they have a coworker that, that they're upset with, a boss that they're upset with. And basically it's put yourself in their shoes. Now, you don't know what happened. Maybe they didn't have sex this morning and wanted it, or, walked out, the car was scratched, the kid pooped. You don't know.
You don't.
And so they projecting. They projecting that to the world because they don't know how to handle it. And now you're there. What if somebody misunderstood you one day? Would you want that to happen? And without fail, it's I haven't heard a yes anyway. Anytime I put it that way, it's always a resounding no. And that goes to like what you say, man, compassion. Like I'm always saying, it's the problem in the world is not guns, it's not race, it's not none of that. It's really, we have a love problem. We have a love problem and a fear of looking within, because I know for me, man, the more and more I look within, the scarier life gets. And sometimes it makes me seem like I'm a little bit crazy too, because I think about what Ron's saying, like, well, you can control your thoughts and why let it happen? And I'm like, well, shit, if they slap me, of course I'm gonna slap the hell out of them, I mean,
let me add something there.
Yeah, you can't control your thoughts. I think you just understand your thoughts more. I think.
Well, yeah. Well, no, that was me. I'm like kind of trying to be funny a little bit with it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, though, even if somebody did that, and I mean, I could pull in books from around the world that says turn the other cheek, or no matter what somebody do to you, take the high road, whatever the case may be. It takes a Zen type. But I know it can be done because I look where it used to be. And if you said something wrong to me back in the day, if I thought you were mad at me and I thought it was going to get to a point to where it was going to get physical, I was going to be the first to cause the harm. that was just bar none. And now I can go back to those old things I can laugh about. You know, I remember Mrs. Hall telling me, just laugh, Cedric. So I know even just the smile sometimes in those bad moments, you just find something. It could be the dumbest thing, you know, PJ Masks, I don't know, or word party, whatever the case may be. I don't know. Think about it and smile, and it can change the whole thing because, like we were talking about the energy, and this is tying into that energy. It brings up a positive energy. Like it's all connected. Just like the yin and the yang, it's so close in the middle. We can be over and over on this side and over on that side. And it can take that one small thing, like we said, time and time, just to start that ripple of positivity, or you can allow a ripple of negativity to come as well. But at the end of the day, we're the ultimate ones that control it. And that can be scary, understanding all the darkness you have in, or you can look at it that way, or I would say opportunity. All the opportunities you have to better yourself and not knowing how to get there when you realize that can be scary. Just, I don't know, in rant. I'm sorry, I feel like I kind of took over a little bit, but.
No, you're good. Yeah. I mean, something came up for me when you were talking about, you know, back in the day and now, how you would handle things then and how you handle things, that same situation maybe now. And a lot of that comes perception. The way you perceived what somebody may have said to you before, your first thought was to deck this guy, right? Well, now maybe you perceive it as something else. Like it's not that serious anymore to you. Everything happens in our lives on the exact same level. Everything happens on the same level. It's how we perceive it to be. It's how big we make it or how little we make it.
Perception becomes reality.
If somebody or something comes along in your day that, you know, may not be within your positive mind frame, your mindset for the day, it's how you're going to perceive it. Are you going to perceive it as something that's going to ruin your day? Or are you going to perceive it as something that may be kind of lightweight, and just go back into your perspective harmony and just brush that off and move forward? But I think everything is just how we perceive it now. It's not always all bad. And it's not always all good. It's just how each individual perceives each situation. I guess, you know, back to the question that you had in the beginning, about, you know, you walking to work and little Johnny has that negative attitude. It's like I said, perceiving Johnny's negative attitude, how bad is Johnny really being? We make it as bad as we want in our own minds. We turn up the level on Johnny, or we can turn it down on Johnny, but that's our own thoughts that we can control. And if our thoughts start going a little bit sideways because of what somebody said or did during the day, we have that chance to change that thought to our second thought and make it more in alignment with who we want to be for that day and who we intended to be when we started the day. That makes sense. I just think it's a lot of intention, perception.
Yeah, and I think what you brought up, Brian, which I had never heard before, and I appreciate you bringing that up, was that whole 17 seconds of, you know, appreciation or gratitude, or just that, you know, kind of sticking to that. Because I was, as you were talking about that, and what Cedric was saying, and a quote that I heard, or I forget where I heard it, was, you know, am I willing to, you know, kind of be silent until my own muddy water settles? It's like, you know, that 17 seconds that you're taking in these individual situations, how different life can be in each experience if we take that time. And can we let our muddy water settle before we react? And we can, right? Because we're so programmed based on our behaviors and our emotions to just quickly react. And I still, I mean, in my relationship, you know, I remember the times that I react in a way that was not authentic. It wasn't real. So now, you know, as I'm trying to change those behaviors, it takes time to recognize, you know, within the family that's a different way that I'm trying to approach things and trying to not react in the way I have. But, you know, so then when you're with other people, especially loved ones, you know, you have to be willing to understand the assimilation that they go through when you start making these behavioral changes as well, because they're used to you react in a certain way, then they react in a certain way. And then when that's broken, that chain where you stop and take that breath, you don't maybe say nothing. Maybe you just allow that person to express themselves. You know, as men, we want to answer, right? We want to check the box. We want to finish it. And there's some times where that's beneficial, but there's other times where we don't need to be the ones that create the closure. We can just be, okay, is there something I can help you with? And there's really not many opportunities when you put that question out there to somebody that maybe it's a confrontation, and just come from a place of service and say, you know, is there something I can do that might help here? Right. And be open to what comes out of that.
Yeah, and letting go of that egoic self, of having to fix everything or having to be right every time. Just letting go of that egoic self and just letting be what is. It doesn't have to be always right. And you don't always have to agree with everything. But if you do start, you know, your mind starts thinking about snapping back because it is something maybe you don't agree with, take that breath, take that 17 seconds to find something you do appreciate, or take that time and that breath to just reset yourself, reset your mind, and blow out whatever you're holding on to and come up with that second thought. And maybe that next behavior that you have comes from that second thought. And it may be a more sensible reaction than maybe your first thought.
And that could be that vulnerable share, because we're all in relationships, to say, you know, I was just about ready to step into the old behavior. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to understand it. And if we can, as men, you know, take that step back and acknowledge, you know, kind of where we've come from and show that side of ourselves and our openness to, you know, creating change and sharing that with the ones that we love, then that opens up that space for so much opportunity for us, but also for them to trust and to, you know, understand that things can change. We don't have to live our life. And Cedric and I always kind of throw out that whole adage of, you know, this is it, or this is all there is. And that's so untrue. It's like, if that's your mindset, then yeah, that's all there is going to be. But there's so many choices that we can create in our life, you know, as a result of thinking outside of the box and being willing to do something that might scare the shit out of us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Hey, but then I found out too, man, they really do want us to talk. They say communication is not just talking about what the Bachelorette or whatever it is. Oh, no. It's really not, like, because we don't really watch those shows. But then it's like,
I do.
You know, I don't know, man. You got me watching How to Get Away with Murder. I don't know. So you gotta have something like that too. But nah, just you absolutely right though, Ron. Well, both of y'all said it in two, you know, in the same different words, same thing though. Just what can I do? How can I help? Versus that, like you say, that ego part, that pride part, that not even, and sometimes, because I had even gotten to a point to where it wasn't really about me being right, but now I just need you. And it was a part of the path on the journey too, because I'm thinking, well, I just need them to understand my mindset. So no, let's continue. Versus, wait a minute, am I still in that old behavior, just doing it a little bit different? Breathing, you know what? Obviously what I'm doing isn't working, and I wouldn't say working, it's just not the right thing for this particular moment. So what can I do? Yeah. What can I do to change it? Mm-hmm. And just being, like Ron said, being able to accept that. And it may be something you've already heard before. And it doesn't even have to be a relationship at home. boss, the coworker, just even a stranger, you know, because those are the ones, and what I found too, and I don't know if this is true for y'all, but a stranger, it's almost easier for me to show, I guess you could say, more compassion and patience versus when I'm at home. I feel like I have to work a lot harder with my patience when I'm at the house, you know, because, and I don't know if it's one of those things where I feel like you should know me or whatever, sometimes, but it doesn't matter who it is though. That's what it always comes back to when either if I fall off the wagon and I do have to show my ass, or I'm an egotistical man, or if I'm on that positive journey and I am taking those breaths, you know, it comes back to.
I think it's our perceived risk, right? With somebody we don't know, it's a very low risk for us to be ourselves or what we think is ourselves and express ourselves in a way that can be vulnerable, because the risk is very low. If we're doing that if we're taking that risk with our loved one, then, you know, it's much higher. I mean, and that's where all the history of previous behaviors, previous, you know, interactions, all the things that brought us to today, then the memory serves us to the point where we go, oh, here's the same situation that we've had in the past. And that's where, you know, I think as a couple, or as you know, as even a father-son, it's like, what can we do differently here? What, you know, we're expecting something different to happen, and we're handling it the exact same way we have before. What are we each willing to own? Because I think it's not about, when I was saying that earlier about, you know, asking the question, how can I serve, or what can I do to help? But it's also not about just stepping in and saying, you know, and owning all of it, right? We don't, you know, because it's not our responsibility to take on parts of a interaction or a argument or a confrontation that's not ours. So, you know, we have to be careful about just trying to, as men, fixing it and say, okay, it's all me, so I'll take all responsibility, versus in a mindful and loving way, say, you know what, I can own this part of it. I can take responsibility for my behaviors here. And what are you willing to, or can we talk about what behaviors you might be able to identify or connect with that you can own? Because I can't shoulder, and I know Brian is working on this because he has shouldered, you know, what he feels others can do with their health. And he's shouldered, you know, expectations that he has, you know, kind of put on others of what he thinks they can do, because he wants people to win. He wants everybody that he comes in contact with to win. So he puts that extra pressure on the situation where if they're not doing what they can do to win, then he shoulders that responsibility. So you saw him earlier just kind of brushing that off, and he's working on trying to lighten the load. So we can't assume all responsibility. We have to own what's ours, and we have to let go of what's not ours.
Amen.
Yeah,
like, I mean, that's really what it is, man. Own you. Do you own you? Like, man, like I love when I go and speak at the recovery groups, you know, because I can use some street lingo that that, you know, most of our listeners might not know, but it's crazy, man. It's like how he used to say, man, don't rat, or, you know, do the crime, do your time, or take your lick. Like that was one of the things I'm glad that I held strong to, because it helps me a whole lot, is being able to take your lick. And basically that just means integrity. You know, in any situation, relationships or whatever, being able to own your shit. And I think, you know, because we were kind of talking, man, we threw a bunch of stuff, and that ties into what we you know, corresponded, the mental, emotional, and physical health. It all ties in, you know. And I think that's a real big part. You got to be honest with yourself. Like, how much of the fuel am I throwing to a situation, or how much change am I bringing to the situation? Mm-hmm. And owning that. And if you're not bringing change, or you add a bunch of fire, take your lick and do the work. Some of it's not gonna feel good. Some of it you'll be able to brush it off, y'all, And then others, it's going to gut punch, and you might feel like you're a horrible human being, until you work through all that emotional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a very, very integral part to it, y'all, is to be honest with you.
Take
And if you're
responsibility.
able to be honest with yourself and look at, like, I'm honest with it. Like, I know I was, and I'm trying not to say good or bad, but no, I was a fucked up individual a few years ago. I was bad. You saw me lock your doors. And now, if you just met me in my regular clothes and heard my story, you'd be like, what? You wouldn't even know it. So the change it could be there. So, and I of all people get it. But I first had to get honest with who I was. Okay, I'm a bad person, and that's not my intent. That is not who I have in my head to be. That's not what I have in my heart to be. So every day you have to get up and try and change that. If it's your relationship, what am I bringing to it? What am I taking away? It's like an account. You take something away, you gotta put something back. Finances across the board, mental, emotional, physical, spiritually, across the board. Just be honest. What am I taking away and what am I giving back? And what the hell am I willing to do in order to change the situation for the better?
And I think
Love that. I love that.
you said it early on too. It's just that one. It's not like you need to make a 90% change in a day. It's like, what 1% change can I make today to create movement in my life in the direction that I want to live?
Yep.
And realizing that, and then understanding and appreciating that you deserve all these things. You, the listener, you deserve all these things that you want in your life. So, knowing that, what can I do every day of my life to make that happen, to ensure that I have success doing that? And those are questions you can ask yourself throughout the day. What am I doing in this moment to move me forward in my life? What am I doing, in this moment to improve my relationship with my wife? What am I doing in each moment to improve myself? And if you take that step back and realize that, you have the ability and the tools to do that, then I think it happens around you. You have support around you already to make those things happen, and you have to be open to that.
Yeah, yeah. Is what I'm about to do going? Is it a pro or a con for my ultimate goal?
It's in alignment with yourself. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and your goals and your desires.
Like that intention. Like, okay, is my next action, is it going to help continue this, or am I about to do something I'm going to regret? Or not even regret, but is it worth it? It might just be time, man. Just time and stress and energy. Mm-hmm.
And it's not always just about putting out that positive intention of what you want. It's also about being patient for it to come back to you. But the third and most important step about putting out what you want is being ready and being able to receive it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know what they want, but they don't know how or if they can receive it when it's actually there.
Right.
Everything is in abundance. Money's in abundance. Love is in abundance. Health is in abundance. And no one's ever said, I'm too healthy. I'm going to be a little less healthy so someone else can be healthy now. No one ever says that. There's enough money, love, health, whatever you desire, whatever you intend your life to be, there's an abundance for that. It's all out there. You just have to ask for it and be willing to receive it when it comes available.
It was something, man, because I'm a part of a bunch of different groups, and I just kind of want y'all, opinion on it. So it was somebody posted something that they were looking for a certain type of job, and they wanted X amount of dollars, and some and basically it came out that they basically weren't even looking for a job or trying to do anything to get this money other than basically think about it. You know, have the intent, hey, I want to have money, or I want this job. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what's your opinion on that? Because I think it's almost one of those things like faith. Like I say a lot, like to me, the Bible is one of the greatest guidelines because it is just a bunch of parables and stuff in there that you can read and break down across millions of people. Faith without works is dead. You can believe it all you want to. I believe I'm going to get this money, and I'm thinking positive. So how do I do positive work? Because if I just sit here and it's almost like somebody saying, hey, I want to lose 100 pounds, but they still eating trash, never moving, never doing anything, but they really, you know, their programming has them caught in their habits to where they won't get up and go to the gym, and they're just not doing anything. So talk to me a little bit about that.
As far as I'm not sure I understand your question. As far as what they want, but
yeah, like to people that or like somebody might come up to you, or if it's a person that comes up to you and say, hey, Brian, say, B, man, I'm doing everything, man. I feel like I'm doing everything right. You know, my intentions are right. You know, and I'm putting it out there, and I'm open to receive. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Receiving is a part of that, doing the actual work? Like us as coaches, you know, hey, I can sit here and want to be a coach all I want. And my intent is good when I interact with people. But if I'm not, you know, trying to book the talks, and I'm not trying to network and grow my business, then how is that ever going to come to me? So I guess the question would be like, what would you say to the people that's listening that might be saying, well, hey, man, I'm doing all of this, but deep down they know that they're not doing the work.
They're not doing the work yet. But the universe has a plan for all of us. All of us. We don't know it yet, but trust it. It's already been planned. If you're that person that wants to lose 100 pounds, you're going to lose that pounds when you're ready to lose that 100 pounds. And I believe that 100 pounds comes off when you want it bad enough, is when your why beneath the why comes out. When you figure out what that why beneath the why is, why you want to lose 100 pounds or why you want a new job, then that's a whole new level of positive energy. Now you're not only saying you want something to the universe, but you're actually working on it. You're actually working towards it. You're showing the universe that you're making the positive steps in the direction of your desired outcomes. So it's not only about asking and just sitting around on the couch and waiting for things to change. I do believe, though, that with the positive mindset and the correct mindset, that you can lose weight just by positively sending that intention out to the universe. You know, I met a guy who has a dog. This dog has cancer in his hips. He set out this positive intention that his dog will get better. His intention was to do everything he could to help the dog be comfortable, but by sending out that positive intention to the universe to heal his dog's tumor shrunk half the size that it was, just by his intention of what he wanted out into the universe. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do believe that people can reach their goals if not only you have to show it what you want, but you can also say what you want. But just by saying and showing is not enough. You have to believe it. You can't reject that source energy. You can't resist that source energy. When that source energy is available, you have to be able to receive it. Some people are good to ask for something, but don't know how to receive it. So I think you just have to play both sides.
Yeah, man, I heard it from Eric Thomas, #1 speaker in the world right now. And Eric, I will share the stage with you one day. I'm not trying to beat you. It's no competition. I'm just be up there with you, brother. But he said, man, you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. And I don't know if y'all heard the story of the guru who took the kid out to the water and asked him if he wanted to succeed. And the guy told him to come out there and basically held him underwater. And right before he took his last breath, he let him up. And he said, what was one thing you wanted to do when you was underwater? He said, breathe. He said, when you want to be successful as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And that's what Eric Thomas talks about, but it kind of ties into it because I think, and he breaks it down, but it's like what we're saying too, that intent has to be there. We'll see it, believe it, and then once you really, truly feel it and believe it, have that faith, is that once that onset of motivation, because then you only got a limited time to take action. Because then you got to start doing something. Like the initial thought when the guy came, my dog has cancer. And so now he's sitting there with something and he had to do something. Man, I really want my dog to get better. And he probably wanted is like, man, I really want my best friend to get well.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's this positive intention thing. So he really wanted his dog to get better. So guess what? He started taking action. And part of that action was, let me send out this positive vibe. I'm going to just envision my dog and believe it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he did some daily stuff because he could have just been like, you know what? I'm not even going to feed that old mutt. But I still want him, but just let him be. But no, I'm going to take him out. I'm not going to force him on his walk, but I'm going to feed him the best food. I don't know how the whole situation is, but I truly believe that once we get it in our mind and we feel it, then basically all I'm saying is, who are we being? We become who we need to be by habitually thinking those thoughts too, those positive things. Because if you're not the person, if you're having financial problems and you haven't figured out how to take care of your finances yet, you're not who you need to be a millionaire. The universe is not going to give it to you. So now you need to continue to grow through this a little bit, possibly, until you start to take, dive into that. Maybe I'm going a little bit too deep on it because I'm like, man, we probably running from time. But
Part 3. Yeah, well, I'm gonna wind it down here. But before I kind of do my closing, kind of goodbyes, a couple things come up. When you talked about being on stage with Eric Thomas, Cedric, I know I'm going to be in the audience someday when you make some profound statement that's yours and you drop the mic and walk off. So I can't wait to but also to kind of follow up with your question, and something I've tried to be aware of in my own work is not focusing on what you've done, is focusing on what you haven't done. Because I think those are the things that we maybe are scared to do that we're not willing to step into. So I guess for me, for you, the listener, for all of us, consider those things you aren't doing. You could probably list all these things you are doing to become successful or to move forward in your life, but maybe you have some awareness around what things you aren't doing that are just kind of holding you back. So love this part 2. I don't think this is like part 2 and we're done. I think this is I could see this kind of being a recurring thing. So that's up to Brian to join us in a future date. But
absolutely.
this was definitely just a very well-rounded, kind of open heart conversation, and very, very vulnerable. I mean, I think things that, again, as men, we don't typically sit around a conversation or sit around a table or even on a podcast and put these things out there. So if you could grab one nugget out of this and take that home for you as the listener, then we've done our job. But as men, we know that this support that we give each other here and outside of this channel, that allows us to be better men for our children, for our wives, for our friends, and for the universe, knowing that we're creating these and understanding these thoughts. We're tapping into these behaviors and feelings that are around these thoughts, and we're creating our experiences, and we're committed to you, the listener, and to us as men walking in our lives to continue to evolve into being the best possible men we can be. So that is my goodbyes. I will turn it over to Brian, and I'll give Ced the last to-dos.
Yeah, I love what you just said. As a group here, us three, we're here for the right intentions. And when we set the right intentions here, we set out that positive vibe. The universe is paying attention to everything that we're saying we're doing. We're staying in alignment with what we believe in. And we're staying conscious of what we're putting out there. And when we're not in alignment, to step back and take that breath, maybe change that first thought, and maybe just act on that second thought, because we can't control our first thought all the time, but we can control our second thought. So awesome. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being here. Who are you being? Take a breath. I know it's all cliche, but that one breath could save you a lot of time, a lot of everything. Just taking that one breath. And I love what you brought to us today. I had never heard about that 17-second gratefulness thing. That's something, because it's 17 seconds. So it's not like some obscene amount of time I got to take out of my day. So I'm going to definitely be trying to put that into action and kind of see what comes up. So, man, I appreciate that.
Sure.
And y'all, man, I hope this helps somebody. I don't get something every time we get together, but every time I rewatch it, I hear something. Not every time while it's live, but I truly got something today. Asked some questions that I felt like a lot of people might want to hear, and I appreciate y'all showing up, showing your heart, putting it on the outside, man. Love to y'all, to the listeners.
Strength and honor, man.
We do. Man, we guys, we can't even, I don't know what that looks like. It's not a part. I did it.
All right. Love you, man. Talk to you soon.
Love y'all too, man.
All right, guys.
Night.
Good night.